coming to Australia. Great scoop. Why would they bother coming, do you think? Because when they came last time, this was, 7 years ago, Meghan referenced it as being a catalyst for them leaving the royal family. So why bother coming back to the place that they clearly didn't love that much?
And, 18 months later, they had left the royal family. So it is now 7 years on, they're going to be coming back to Australia, but the landscape for them could not be more different. So
in the third week of March 2026, a source close to the Sussex household told journalists covering the couple's upcoming Australia trip something that has been reverberating through their operation ever since. Meghan, the source said, is losing sleep. Not about the trip itself. Not about the speaking engagement in Sydney or the logistics of appearing separately from Harry on the other side of the world at the same time. About what else could come out. Those 3 words carry everything. What else could come out? The immediate trigger was an email leak. Details of Meghan's appearance at the Her Best Life retreat and gala dinner in Sydney, a major women's wellness event scheduled for mid-April 2026, had been circulating before any official announcement was made. Someone inside the Sussex operation or connected to it had allowed those details to reach journalists before Meghan's team had authorised the release. She was, according to the source speaking to New Idea, horrified. Not because the information was damaging in itself, but because the leak represented something she has spent years trying to prevent. A loss of control over her own narrative, a reminder that the walls around the Sussex household are not as solid as she needs them to be. And then, the source said, the thing that made the whole story land differently. The trip leak was manageable. What Meghan is really afraid of is the Pandora's box of private dealings with Harry that might spill out next. Today, we are going to tell you the full story of what is happening around Harry and Meghan's April 2026 Australia trip. What the email leak revealed and what it signalled. What the private dealings that Meghan is reportedly afraid of might involve. Why Harry is heading to Melbourne while Meghan goes to Sydney and separately at the same events in the same country, and what that arrangement says about where they actually are right now. What Australia means for them commercially at this specific moment. And what the broader pattern of leaks around the Sussex operation tells us about the state of the machine they built around themselves.
There's 2 main reasons that were mentioned to me, and one is Harry's connection with friends that he's cultivated over the years in Australia. He has a lot of close friends here, particularly in the military community. Then he'll be looking to doing some work in that space while he's here. And also for Meghan, as I said, she's at a very important point in this lifestyle company that she's running and trying to build this empire, because she has now split with Netflix.
We are going to take our time, because this is a story that has more layers than the headline suggests. So settle in, and let's begin. Let's start with the Australia trip itself, because understanding what Harry and Meghan are doing there, and why they are doing it separately, is the foundation of everything else in this story. Harry and Meghan are travelling to Australia in mid-April 2026. Their itinerary, as it has been reported, has them attending entirely different events. In Melbourne, Harry is speaking at a workplace mental health summit. Mental health advocacy has been one of the consistent themes of Harry's post-royal public work. He has spoken about his own mental health struggles, about the importance of professional support for veterans, and about the culture of silence around mental health in workplace settings. The Melbourne Summit is a professional engagement that fits naturally within the Invictus and Veterans Welfare lane of his public work. In Sydney, Meghan is the guest of honour at the Her Best Life retreat, a women's wellness event with an accompanying gala dinner. The retreat is in the aspirational lifestyle space that Meghan has been building toward since the departure from royal life, health, well-being, empowerment, the kind of content that fits with the A's Ever brand and the lifestyle identity she has been constructing. Both engagements are paid speaking appearances. The financial reality of mid-2026 for Harry and Meghan is one in which the major streaming income has reduced, the private allowance has been cut, the court case liability remains, and the path to financial stability runs through exactly these kinds of commercial engagements. Keynotes, personal appearances, event headlining. What is striking about this particular trip is not that they are going to Australia. It is that they are going separately, that the unified front, the hand-holding, the "we're in this together" imagery that characterised their joint appearances in earlier years is not the format for this trip. Harry goes to Melbourne, Meghan goes to Sydney. Different cities, different events, different audiences. Those who follow the Sussex story closely will recognise that as consistent with a pattern that has been developing throughout 2026. Meghan's brand separation, her independent commercial meetings in Los Angeles, the restructuring of her professional identity around her own name and her own ventures rather than around the joint Sussex brand. And now, a joint trip to Australia that is not quite a joint trip at all. If you are watching this for the first time and you want to follow this story as it develops, and it is developing fast, with the April trip still weeks away and more information expected to emerge, please subscribe right now. We cover the royal family and the depth and detail these stories deserve. Hit subscribe, turn on your notifications, and every new video comes straight to you. Now let's talk about the email leak. Because it is the immediate trigger of everything that is unfolding, and it deserves to be understood in its full context. The leak was not a dramatic document dump or a formal disclosure. It was something more ordinary and in some ways more damaging. The kind of leak that happens when the people around a public figure are not entirely loyal, or not entirely discreet, or not entirely committed to the version of events that the public figure needs them to protect. Someone connected to the Sussex operation allowed details of Meghan's Sydney appearance to circulate before the official announcement. The Her Best Life retreat had not yet been formally announced as the venue for Meghan's appearance. Her team had a planned communication strategy, the kind of carefully sequenced rollout that manages the narrative, controls the timing, and ensures that the first coverage is shaped by the framing Meghan's team has prepared, rather than by the framing that emerges when details get out uncontrolled. That strategy was undermined before it could be executed. The announcement arrived in the media not as a polished launch, but as a chaotic scramble to catch up with information that was already out there. For most public figures, that would be an annoyance, a bump in the road, something to address with a stronger non-disclosure agreement and a more carefully managed inner circle going forward. For Meghan, according to the source speaking to New Idea, it is something more than that. Because the trip leak, irritating as it is not the real concern. The real concern is the Pandora's box. That phrase, Pandora's box, is the one that matters in this story, because it tells you what Meghan is actually afraid of, not the controlled professional information that her team manages and discloses in an orderly way, the private dealings, the conversations and arrangements and decisions made between her and Harry over the course of their California chapter that exists somewhere in the documentary record of their lives, emails, messages, financial records, agreements, and that she cannot be certain are protected. The Sussex operation has not, by the accounts of those who have worked within it or alongside it, been characterised by the kind of airtight information security that protects the most sensitive private communications. The Spotify executive's public comments, the details that emerged in Tom Bower's betrayal, the financial information that surfaced in the context of the Daily Mail court case, all of it suggests a perimeter that has been penetrated more than once, from more than one direction, by people with access to private information who chose to share it. And now, with the Bower book at number 1 and the court case concluded and the financial situation as precarious as it is, and the marriage as strained as it is, and the palace as formally distanced as it is, the question of what else could emerge from the private record of the Sussex years is not a theoretical one. It is an immediate and practical concern. The source says Meghan will tighten up her staff non-disclosure agreements. Whether that is enough to halt the leaks remains to be seen, the source told the journalist. Those two sentences, in the context of everything else happening in the Sussex world right now, say a great deal about where Meghan is in late March 2026, not in control in the way she needs to be, aware of the vulnerability, working to address it, but uncertain whether the address will come in time. Let's talk about Harry's visa situation. Because the title of today's video references it, and it is a real and ongoing legal question that provides important context for both the Australia trip and the broader picture of Harry's situation in America. Harry's US immigration status has been the subject of a legal dispute for over a year. A conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation, brought a lawsuit seeking the release of Harry's immigration records. The Heritage Foundation argued that the public had a right to know whether Harry had been truthful on his immigration application about his prior drug use, given that he had publicly disclosed in his memoir Spare that he had used drugs including cocaine, cannabis, and psychedelics. The question at the centre of that legal dispute is straightforward in its outline, if complex in its legal execution. US immigration applications ask applicants to disclose any prior drug use. Harry had, in his own published memoir, described significant drug use. The Heritage Foundation wanted to know how he had answered the immigration question and whether his visa had been granted despite an answer that disclosed that drug use or on the basis of an answer that did not. The court proceedings around this dispute have been ongoing. As of early 2026, a judge had ruled that Harry's immigration records would be provided to the court in a sealed process, meaning the judge would see them, but they would not be made public due to what the court described as the foreseeable harm that public release could cause. That sealed process means the public does not currently know the answer to the core question, but it also means the question has not gone away. The records exist. A court has seen them. The legal dispute continues. What the Australia trip adds to this picture is a specific and practical dimension. Harry is not travelling to Australia as a private individual making a personal visit. He is travelling as a commercial speaker, a paid headline act at a professional event. That kind of travel, in the context of an ongoing immigration dispute in his country of residence, is not without complications. His advisors are aware of it. The trip is proceeding. But the legal backdrop to Harry's presence in Australia, including questions about what his visa status permits and what the ongoing US proceedings might produce, is not a backdrop that has been fully resolved. Let's pause here. We are at the midpoint of this story, and the section ahead covers what the separate travel arrangement says about the marriage, what Australia means for the Sussex brand right now, and what the next several weeks are likely to produce. If you are finding this as significant as we do, please share this video with someone who is following this story. It takes just a moment. Thank you. Let's talk about what the separate travel arrangement actually means. Because it is the detail in this story that those who have been watching the Sussex marriage most closely find most telling. Earlier in their post-royal years, Harry and Meghan would not have structured an Australia trip this way. The joint appearance, the shared stage, the unified visual message of partnership was central to the Sussex brand from the beginning. It was what made them commercially valuable to streaming platforms and event organisers and brand partners. Not Harry alone, not Meghan alone. Harry and Meghan together, the couple, the partnership, the story. The separate April trip is not the first indication that the joint brand is giving way to two individual brands operating in parallel, but it is among the most structurally concrete. They are on the same continent at the same time, doing commercial engagements that are both consistent with their individual professional identities, but that have no joint element at all. Meghan's sources have made it clear that her vision for her commercial future is an independent one. As ever, her own retreats, her own partnerships, her name, her identity, her brand, not as part of a Sussex joint venture, but as her own platform. Harry's path forward runs through Invictus and mental health advocacy and the military and veterans world that represents his most credible professional identity. Separate from Meghan's wellness and lifestyle space, serving a different audience, generating income through different channels. Those two separate paths are not incompatible with marriage. Many couples have distinct professional identities and work in completely different fields. The separation of career tracks is not in itself evidence of marital difficulty, but in the context of everything else that has been reported about the Sussex marriage in March 2026. The financial pressures, the asset restructuring, the post-divorce framework that Meghan reportedly commissioned, the April trip structure is one more data point in a picture that those close to the couple are watching carefully. A picture of two people who are navigating the same difficult circumstances in ways that are increasingly divergent, and whose public appearances, which were once the most reliable expression of their shared purpose, are now beginning to reflect that divergence in ways that are visible to anyone paying attention. Let's talk about what the Australia trip means commercially and why both of them are making it now, despite everything else that is happening. Australia is not an accident as a destination at this point in the Sussex story. It is a deliberate choice rooted in specific commercial logic. The Australian market and the broader Asia-Pacific market that Australia's profile connects to has been more consistently warm toward Harry and Meghan than the British market, where public sentiment has shifted significantly, or the American market, where the commercial disappointments of the Netflix and Spotify deals have left their brand associated with underperformance. Australian and New Zealand audiences followed the Meghan and Harry story with genuine warmth from the beginning. The 2018 Royal Tour of Australia was one of the moments that defined the early Sussex brand at its most positive. The couple at the height of their public appeal, in a country that responded to them with genuine affection. That warmth has not entirely evaporated in the years since, even as the British and American contexts have become considerably more complicated. For Meghan, the Sydney Women's Retreat is an opportunity to connect with an audience that is likely to be sympathetic. Women in the Her Best Life demographic who are genuinely interested in the aspirational wellness and empowerment message that Meghan has been trying to deliver and who are less burdened by the specific controversies of the British and American contexts. For Harry, the Melbourne Mental Health Summit connects him with an audience that respects his military background and his genuine advocacy work, the kind of professional engagement that his advisors have been consistently telling him is the path back toward the credibility that the court case damaged. Both appearances serve the same financial purpose. They generate income at a moment when income is urgently needed, and they do so in a market that is likely to receive both of them more warmly than the markets closest to home. The risks are also real. The email leak demonstrated that the Australia operation is not as tightly controlled as they need it to be. The ongoing visa legal proceedings in the United States create a backdrop of uncertainty, and the marriage questions that have been circulating throughout March 2026 will not be answered by a trip in which the two of them are in separate cities, doing separate events. What the trip will produce, whether it generates the commercial momentum they need, or whether it becomes another episode in a story of declining reach and increasing complication, will depend on decisions that are still being made in the weeks between now and mid-April. Let's end where this story finds its most human truth. There is a very particular kind of exhaustion that comes from building something with someone, a business, a life, a brand, an identity, and then watching the building develop cracks that you cannot stop by working harder or communicating better or managing more carefully. The cracks that come not from insufficient effort, but from the accumulated weight of decisions that cannot be undone. Meghan is losing sleep about what else could come out. That sentence, from a source who has access to how she is actually feeling, tells you something about the state of mind of a woman who is 44 years old, who left a royal family and a career in a country to build something new, and who is now managing a situation in which her own operation leaks. Her marriage is under sustained scrutiny, her finances are under pressure, and a book that was #1 on Amazon before it was published has just described the partnership she built as something considerably less than what she promised the world it was. And Harry is heading to Melbourne to talk about mental health in a workplace summit. The man who has spent years telling the world that vulnerability and honesty and the willingness to ask for help are the foundations of genuine well-being, who has encouraged millions of people to seek support, who is navigating, privately, a situation that requires exactly the kind of support he has publicly championed. There is no cruelty in observing that. There is only the recognition that the people who talk most publicly about their struggles are sometimes the ones who are least able to access the help they need in private, because the public talking has become the identity, and the identity creates its own pressures. Australia in April 2026 is not an ending for Harry and Meghan. It is an attempt at a continuation. An attempt to find the commercial and personal ground on which to build whatever comes next. In 2 different cities, at 2 different events for 2 different audiences, in a country that has historically been kind to them. Whether it works will depend on something that no trip can resolve and no commercial engagement can manufacture. It will depend on what the 2 of them figure out about each other and about themselves in the weeks and months ahead. And we will be here to tell you exactly what happens as it unfolds. Thank you so much for watching today all the way through. This is a story in motion. The April trip is still ahead, and there will be significantly more to report as it approaches and then happens. If this video helped you understand the full picture, please leave a comment below. Tell us whether you think the Australia trip will help Harry and Meghan turn the corner commercially and personally, or whether the separate cities arrangement tells you everything you need to know about where things stand. We read every comment, and if you are not yet subscribed, please do it now. Click subscribe, turn on your notifications, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you. We will see you soon.